Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take a stack of sources and really try to pull out the essential insights so you can be genuinely well informed. Today, we're diving into the world of digital currencies. It's dynamic, often pretty overwhelming, and we're focusing specifically on how these, new players are trying to find their own space. It's a crowded landscape out there. Our main source material today is an excerpt from something called Texit Coin, a distinct digital currency. Now, look, our mission here isn't to get completely bogged down in every technical detail of every single new coin popping up. That's impossible. It's more about understanding the strategic blueprint. How does Texit Coin plan to differentiate itself? We want to grasp the approach. How does a new coin try to stand out when things move so fast?
Yeah, and understanding that strategy, that differentiation piece, it's just critical, absolutely critical for any new digital currency. I mean, you're basically launching into an ocean, right? Established names everywhere, new projects daily. Just being there or being slightly different, that's probably not going to cut it anymore.
Yeah.
For you listening, those aha moments that often happen when you figure out not just that something's new, but how it positions itself against what's already out there, against the giants, and crucially, why those differences are meant to matter.
Exactly. And, something jumped out at us right away in the source material, a specific section title. It was 5, How Texit Coin Differs from Bitcoin and Other Cryptos. Simple as that. And the document actually says explicitly that this section is supposed to provide clear comparisons to major coins to help listeners understand Texit Coin's niche. So, okay, that leads us to our first question for this deep dive. Given that stated intention, they want to show clear comparisons, they want to highlight their niche. What does that tell us right off the bat? What does it tell us about the basic strategy of a new currency like Texit Coin, even before we see the actual comparisons in full? What can we learn just from the intent?
Well, what's really insightful, I think, is that the section title even exists, and that stated purpose. It shows they get it, they understand how markets work today. Texit Coin clearly knows it can't just be, coin number 10,001 hoping people notice. It has to explain why it's different, and importantly, why those differences should connect with people who already know Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum. So this isn't just marketing fluff. It points to a pretty calculated approach to positioning, to communication right from the start.
Okay, so it's less about what the actual technical difference is, at least initially, and more about the strategic why. Why highlight these differences? Why frame it as a comparison? It's like they're acknowledging that people, especially in crypto, kind of need familiar landmarks to navigate something new. It's not enough to just be different. You have to sort of explain how you're different compared to what people already get.
Precisely. And that brings us right to a key challenge for any new digital asset that wants people to actually use it. How do you get your target audience to understand what you offer compared to what they already know? The source stressing clear comparisons to major coins suggests a strategy of using existing mental models. They're effectively saying, look, you know Bitcoin, right? It's good points. Maybe it's downsides. You know other big cryptos. Okay, great. Now let us show you how we fit in. Or, more importantly, how we don't fit that exact mold. It's about building an understandable bridge, not just asking people to jump across a chasm.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels very user-focused, trying to explain something complex in relatable terms. It's not just about the tech, the novel invention, but about making that novelty understandable, making it relatable so more people might actually adopt it. But okay, if a new coin is going to compare itself to Bitcoin, what kinds of real substantive differences are we talking about? What actually, moves the needle in the crypto world?
Oh, yeah. Now that's where it gets really interesting, isn't it? Because while the source talks communication, the real differentiation, that usually comes from deeper fundamental choices, technical, structural ones. So, for instance, Texit Coin might emphasize, say, a different consensus mechanism, maybe something faster, more scalable than Bitcoin's proof of work. Or perhaps they focus on enhanced privacy features, which isn't really Bitcoin's strong suit. Or maybe robust smart contract capabilities, more like Ethereum, but maybe with a specific twist or optimization.
Right. So it's those underlying design choices, the architecture that creates the possibility for being different. And then the communication strategy, the comparisons make that difference easy to grasp.
Yeah.
But what about differentiation beyond just the core tech? Are there other angles, other ways a project can kind of carve out its own space?
Oh, absolutely. Beyond the core protocol, you see differentiation in use case utility, a unique purpose. Is Texit Coin designed for a specific industry, like maybe supply chains, or a particular niche in decentralized finance, DeFi? Another big area is the governance model. How are decisions made? Is it more decentralized, more community-driven than Bitcoin's sort of emergent system? Or maybe it's more structured,
Yeah.
a hybrid. And lastly, tokenomics. The whole economic setup of the coin itself, that can be a huge differentiator. Unique staking rewards, maybe a supply that decreases over time, deflationary, or just a different way of handling fees. The crucial thing is, these aren't just features listed on a website. They're pitched as value propositions compared to the big names.
Okay. But this raises a potential issue, doesn't it? A risk. I mean, defining yourself against a giant like Bitcoin, that's powerful for communication, sure. But isn't there a danger that by constantly comparing, Texit Coin just gets stuck being seen as, like, a Bitcoin alternative? Or worse, a Bitcoin clone? How do you avoid just living in Bitcoin's shadow? How do you strike that balance?
That is a critical challenge. Absolutely. The risk is definitely there. If the differences highlighted aren't, well, substantial enough, or if the project doesn't pivot pretty quickly to talking about its own independent vision and goals, yeah, it can really struggle to build its own identity. If you only define yourself by what you're not, you kind of limit your story going forward. The really effective comparative strategies, they don't just point out differences. They use those differences to say, here's a better solution, or here's a totally new way to solve a problem that maybe Bitcoin doesn't fully tackle.
Got it. So it's like using the familiar thing, Bitcoin in this case, as a launch pad to introduce the new thing. But then you have to quickly show why the new thing is valuable all on its own, like a stepping stone almost.
Exactly right. A stepping stone to understanding. And if we zoom out a bit, what this suggests is that these new digital currencies, they understand a fight isn't purely technical anymore. It's largely about the narrative. They have to tell a story, a compelling one, that answers those basic questions. Why should I care about this? What problem does it solve that others don't? Or solve better? And yeah, how does it connect to what I already grasp? So that intention we saw to provide clear comparisons, that's fundamentally part of building that narrative, trying to cut through all the noise in the crypto space.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is like a strategic statement of intent. Even without knowing all the specifics of Texit Coin, just knowing they plan to communicate via clear comparisons and defining their niche tells you a lot. It's a really powerful glimpse into how new digital currencies are trying to find their footing in this incredibly competitive, fast-moving market. Okay, so let's recap this deep dive into Texit Coin's strategy. The main takeaway seems to be just how vital it is for a digital currency to clearly spell out its unique identity. Texit Coin explicitly stating it wants to highlight differences from Bitcoin and others. That really underscores the strategic need for any new project. We talked about the kinds of differences that might actually matter, and also that tricky balance of comparing yourself without getting stuck in someone else's shadow.
That's right. In such a packed field, being able to clearly say, here's how X is different from Y, well, it's more than just marketing. It's essential. Essential for people to understand it, essential for adoption, and ultimately essential for how much value people see in it. It pushes everyone, the creators, you, the potential user, to think critically about where something fits and what it actually does. It's real utility.
Right. So here's a final thought for you to chew on. When you personally come across a new digital currency, what specific differences, what real substantive differences would convince you that it's actually found a unique and valuable place for itself? And how important is the clarity of those comparisons? How well they explain those differences for its chances of success? And just for your ability to even grasp its potential value? Something to think about until our next deep dive.